Hi everyone, Flaming Footy here and welcome back to a new video on the channel. And today guys, here we are for another AFL 2022 season review. In today's season review, we're going to be reviewing St Kilda's 2022 AFL season. And of course, going in ladder position order, the Saints finished 10th in 2022 after having a interesting year, which we're going to go ahead and review that right now. So, of course, going to be looking at the ladder position first, how many wins, losses, points, percentage, recapping the season, every game, highlights, best win, good players, lowlights, the worst loss, what's next, trade period and coach, and then the recap and the final words. Let's go ahead, hop right into things. So, of course, just like Port Adelaide and Gold Coast, St Kilda were one of the teams that were inside the 8. Well, St Kilda was the only team that was really inside the 8, and then ended up falling out of the 8, but they were still very competitive and contending for the top 8 right throughout the whole year. They had 11 wins, 11 losses, so that even split 44 points, and with a poor percentage of 99.3, which in the end did hinder their chances of making the top 8. So St Kilda lost to eventual breakout stars Collingwood in round 1, lost by 17 points. Round 2, one of their best wins of the season for sure, travelling over to Perth and taking down Fremantle. It was tough to do. That game looked extremely impossible for them, and they managed to create the impossible. Round 3 versus Richmond was also very good. They comfortably took down the Tigers by 33 points at Marvel Stadium. Round 4, they smashed the Hawks by 69. Comfortably got over the Suns by 26 and then got over the Giants by 17. Lost the Power by 1 point. Very disappointing loss for them. This one, they did have chances. I mean, both sides had their chance. It was as scrappy as you'll see. And then they lost to the Demons. They overcame a very good challenge against the Cats at Marvel. And that was their best win of the season. No doubt about it. Really good win there by the Cats. By the Saints over the Cats. They did overcome the Crows in the end. Took them a little while, but they did it in the end. They comfortably got over the Roos. They lost to the Lions. And then just from there, they just started to hit a bit of a rough patch. They lost to the Bombers. They got smashed by the Bombers. They got smashed by the Swans. Good bounce-back win against the Blues. Won by 15 points. And then, yeah, they had a better chance than this against the Dockers. Lost by 41 points to the Dockers. They should have had a way better chance than that. They got thumped by the Bulldogs by 28 as well. Again, they should have showed more fight in that. Got over the Eagles. And then they got over the Hawks, but not in the greatest of fashion either. Then they got thumped by the Cats, lost to the Lions in a really good fight, and their last 2 games in the end of the year, lost by 14 to the Swans. Those are some good fights against some really good sides, but it was at Marvel, those last 2 games of the season. Now, there was some poor losses in their season. I'm going to say one of their worst had to be against Sydney. That was a really poor loss, but against Essendon was probably one of their poorest. They were tipped to go in and win this game, and not just win, they were tipped to go in and smash this game, and they just couldn't do anything in that game. They just didn't even look like they'd rocked up. And best win of the year, most certainly against the Cats. They put all of their class on display. It was an absolute shock upset as well. So yeah, that one does go down as one of the upsets. The Cats were tipped to win that game, and the Saints just came out and put that hope to bed for the Cats to win that game. And there was some other, like a poor loss in round 1 to the Pies, but yeah, their worst loss was no doubt about it up against the Swans and the Bombers. And then they also did have a few other poor losses, e.g. against the Dockers, the Dogs, and the the Cats at GMHBA Stadium. So there was a few poor moments in this St Kilda season, but yeah, all the focus for Saints fans was definitely around that game versus Geelong at Marvel. That was easily their best game of the year. So as to what they're expecting trade-wise, they could end up getting Nick Bryan in the door from Essendon. Now, again though, to be completely honest, is that really going to be a massive addition? Not really. Paddy Ryder is going to be leaving the club due to retirement. Darren Geary was another one as well. Dan Hanbury. So they are losing a couple of players due to retirement. Nobody really looking to go out of the Saints due to a trade. They did miss out on Jordan De Goey, though. That was a massive thing. He ended up turning his back on free agency to sign a big deal with Collingwood. And yeah, the Saints would be disappointed with that because Jordan De Goey was right in their sights, and they didn't have a bad offer in front either. But again, though, a lot of people were keen to see him stay at Collingwood, and that's exactly what happened with some behavioural clauses. But again, though, the Saints very unlucky to miss out on Jordan De Goey, because if he had have left, I don't think he would have been going to Essendon. I feel like, yeah, he would have had his sights set on St Kilda. So really disappointing there by St Kilda. What do they do with their season? Well, what do they do with their trade period from here? Not quite entirely sure. They'll probably be one of those teams that will just end up like shockingly get a deal done. I don't think they're going to have a lot to do in the trade period. I reckon they're going to be involved in maybe a pick swap, perhaps, though, like a pick swap. So yeah, but the Saints, that I reckon they're going to go to the draft and have a pretty decent. They haven't really been rumored to anyone so far. Now this is not necessarily guaranteed, but this could happen. Matt Crouch might go to the Saints. Now this is an outside chance. This is extremely unlikely, but I'm just going to say it as a might. Matt Crouch might go to St Kilda to play with his brother, Brad Crouch, and they reunite. Now, I highly doubt this is going to happen, so don't say anything about that. But that, who knows? Who knows? I don't know. That could happen. Again, though, would highly doubt it, but it could happen. Now, St Kilda could be looking for a ruck as well, so in that ruck merry-go-round, there might be a player that St Kilda might get. Nick Bryan being rumoured to go to the Saints as well, but the main thing that their trade period was looking for was Jordan De Goey. Now that he's not going to the Saints, I don't really think they're going to have a massive trade period. They could be one of those teams, though, that just comes out and does a lot. Don't know. Haven't really heard anybody being rumoured to the Saints so far. So, we're just going to go ahead however, though, one more thing that I did want to say about the Saints is that they do have some players that could be going out. Now, to North Melbourne will go Brad Hill and Hunter Clark. Now, they've been rumoured to go to North Melbourne because of Alistair Clarkson. So with this Hawthorn thing, which I've said this in a couple of season reviews, how this Hawthorn thing plays out is going to really shape up this trade period. Now, look, this Hawthorn thing is not going to be done this trade period. So I don't know, but I feel like Brad Hill and Hunter Clark will stay put at St Kilda until next year, where they'll be able to know if Clarko's there or not. So I think they're going to stay put. Meanwhile, Ben Long will 100% be, well, not 100%, but is more than likely heading off to the Gold Coast Suns as he requested a trade. So there's some things going out. Very likely he'll get picks back in. So, yeah, I reckon they're going to have a pretty decent draft hand this year. So, St Kilda finished 10th in the 2022 AFL season after having a very tough run home. Their top 4 chances and top 8 chances disintegrated really quickly in front of their eyes. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you guys next miss another video on the channel. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Bye everyone. Flaming Footy out.